Hello, Baconites. That's right, I said Baconites. Welcome to episode 1, the very first of the official Bacon podcast. My name's Jeremy. I'm your host. I'm here with the director of programming for Bellingham Anime Convention, Jarrett Martin. Jarrett, thanks so much for being here.
Yep, thank you for having me.
So, we're going to be talking about a couple things today. We're mostly actually going to be talking about the future of Bacon with Jarrett. But we're also going to be talking about things that you guys might be interested in. Different anime, gaming news, anything like that you might be interested in. We're probably going to be throwing it our way. So, Jarrett, if you'd like to talk a little bit about how you got into the position that you have at the Bellingham Anime Convention.
Yeah, okay, so I'm trying to think how long ago it was. 2013, I moved to Washington State. Prior to that, I've worked at a couple anime conventions as a panelist, played music at a couple conventions as a guest. But once I moved up here, I started going to college and I founded and became president of the Whatcom Community College Anime Club. We were one of the more active clubs on campus. About a year after our club existed, we got contacted by the prior director of the convention, Jennifer Lovechick, and she basically had been running Bellingham Anime Con for the past 5 years or so. Was kind of ready to see it grow and kind of wanted to start shifting it off into new hands. Under Jennifer's leadership, the con reached around a maximum attendance of around 250 people, maybe about 200, 250. They were limited in the venue by the fire code, so they kind of had to cap attendance at that level. She wanted to help bring the con. She wanted someone to help bring the con to the community college. She thought contacting the president of the anime club would be a good way to do that. I thought it was a good opportunity to get involved in something bigger than a club, and I became director of programming for 2015. We grew attendance from 200 to 350. Then the next year after that, we started charging for the event. We did an entry price of about $10. We saw attendance grow from 350 to 750. And here we are today, where we're looking at 2017.
And hopefully it's going to be a fantastic year. I know that you have a lot of things planned for it and that you're really working on everything. So last year we had a couple sponsors, right?
We had support from Funimation, from Crunchyroll. We had support from the Bellingham Public Library and the Whatcom County Library System. Those two are kind of like our sponsors, but I think we're going to start shifting those into more industry type sponsors as opposed to public sponsors, since we now have federal recognition as a charity. We can start getting more, not to downplay the library, but more legitimate sponsors that are community businesses and stuff like that actually have an interest in sponsoring an event like this.
Right. So last year we had some people that were definitely interested. Who did we have last year? I'm trying to remember exactly who was who wanted to sponsor us, but or whatever.
We talked to Jimmy Johns, we talked to Fred Meyer, we talked to I think a couple pizza places around town. I think we talked to Anime World, but I think those discussions will be a little bit more fruitful this year, considering the fact that we're now a charity, and then if they donate anything to us, it's tax deductible, so there's more reason for them to actually get involved. Besides just the advertisement.
That's super cool that you actually sent out a message the other day to everybody telling us that you had actually filed for the charity.
Yeah.
Which helps out everybody around.
It's a huge deal. It's a huge deal.
So what are you looking at for next year exactly to help improve the convention over what we've already had? Because it was fantastic last year. What do you plan on doing next year that's going to make it even better?
So every year we send out a survey to attendees. They're welcome to fill it out if they want to. A lot of our feedback was saying that we needed more space and we needed more programming. So that's exactly what we're planning to do for next year. We tripled our venue size, so space should not be an issue. And we now, rather than having 2 panel rooms, we're going to have, I think 10 panel rooms is how many panel rooms we're going to have. It'll be a pretty big challenge to fill up all those rooms with panels, but especially since it's a 10-hour con. But we're trying to make this con more of something that more people would be interested in. So we're going to have a wider variety of programming. So if you come and you're interested in cosplay, that you can go to cosplay panels all day. If you're interested in gaming, you can do gaming panels all day. If you're interested in just film discussion and theory, you can do that all day. Also, we are emphasizing our theme for next year. We're doing BayCon Online. So we're going to be theming it like an MMORPG. It's going to be super fun. One thing that's really interesting about our con, so we've as of 2015, we began our branding. And our logo has the Japanese character Tomo, which means friend. And we're going to start kind of marketing ourselves as a place where you can go and make friends that have similar interests as you. We're kind of utilizing our theme to sort of push that forward a little more. So everyone's going to get, when they get their badges, they're going to get a character class. We're actually going to have panels and meetups throughout the day. That'll be called form a party. So if you come and maybe there's only 2 of you, maybe there's 1 of you, maybe there's 4 of you, but you want to complete your party, there's 5 classes. You're like, oh man, we've got every class except for a healer. We can go here and we can find a healer. You can. It's a good way to make new friends. We're also thinking about theming each building as a different MMO, but we're not sure what we're going to do for that yet because of copyright stuff. We might there's a lot of gaming companies down in Redmond, so we might talk to them and see if they'd be willing to let us theme certain buildings at the venue based on their real life MMOs, but we'll see how that goes.
And I think that would be extremely interesting, actually. I know I personally have a cosplay that I'm planning on. I don't know if I'll be able to get it done because it's going to require a lot of time and a lot of money on my part, and I'm trying to save up for so many things at once and so many different cosplays, and traveling, and I'm planning on moving and all sorts of stuff. But hopefully it'll all work out for everybody. So let's talk a little bit about how you really got into anime and everything like that. Because, you said you were working on all kinds of stuff. It's just, I'm curious about how, or what it was that made you want to do this.
Essentially, I think I wasn't quite finding what I wanted out of entertainment, out of Western cartoons, besides the Marvel DC cartoons. I remember watching Pokemon, the first series. Everyone's first starter anime in the western part of the planet was Sailor Moon, Digimon, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh,
like things like
Dragon Ball, and then you have Transformers. Actually, it was Transformers. Transformers is not an anime.
No, there were
close.
some Transformers anime.
Zoids. Power Rangers, all that Japanese media that was kind of trickling over here. I didn't really see it as anything different from Western cartoons until I realized, everything that I like is coming from Japan. So then I started getting more into anime, and I just really love the art style. Japanese cartoons are not afraid to face reality and let people bleed when their arms get chopped off. Or they don't mind theming the anime based on real life issues, whereas Western cartoons seem to be more sitcom-y and more like what can happen, what shenanigans can happen in one episode, and I don't really like that model.
Yeah, where every episode of an American cartoon seems to follow every day's new adventure, whereas in anime and stuff like that, it's all one continuous storyline that really seems to usually connect, especially even when it's doing arcs and stuff like that, you at least have some overall connection rather than just kind of what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's always...
Yeah. You stay for the characters, you stay for the story rather than staying for a tidbit of humor that makes you laugh.
Yeah, I mean, way back when, I started with Pokemon and stuff like that, I actually didn't really know the difference, the same as you had mentioned, between a Japanese and an American cartoon, and my cousin was super, super into stuff like anime and stuff like that, and she really got invested in the Japanese language and the Japanese culture, and I didn't know a whole lot as I said, about the difference until one day I went to her house and she was watching the original Japanese dub of Naruto, and that, I sort of noticed it, and I remember just kind of picking up a few things, and then one day on Toonami they started playing that episode, and it was years later, but they started playing that episode and I immediately recognized it, and it was really through Toonami and stuff like that I got into more and more anime and stuff like that.
My parents actually got a DVR, and I would record. DVRs were kind of like crazy technology, but I would record every episode of Inuyasha and every episode of Full Metal Alchemist, and then I'd go home and watch them. My parents didn't want me watching them because they said cuss words. I remember there was an episode of Full Metal Alchemist where a guy was like, "Who the hell are you?" And my dad's like, "What did he just say? Give me the remote." And then I got grounded for a week.
Even now, sometimes I hear things in media for kids and stuff like that, and I kind of get a little baffled. Or not even just that. There was a song that I listened to from a Christian band that I listened to, and literally the song was titled "Out of Hell," and it was just like, all the other stuff was kind of dark and gloomy, but they had never really cursed or anything, and so I see the word hell just in the title, and I was going, what's going on there? One thing, it still strikes me to this day, I saw the movie Cars when it came out in theaters, and the main character refers to the town that he's stuck in as Hillbilly Hell, and I remember going, this movie's rated G, right?
Yeah.
And
you get one hell. Rated G.
And it baffled me, but things are getting more and more I guess intense is not quite the word I want to use.
Uncensored.
Yeah.
Less afraid of reality. Some people talk like this.
Yeah.
Also, hell's not even...
I know, it's one of those things. I actually had that argument, or conversation, I guess, with my mom when I was 12, when I was trying to get her to allow me to curse and everything like that. And I was like, it's just a place.
Yeah.
It's fine. So I remember sending out like a mass email to everybody on my AOL list when I was 12 going, oh man, this is cool as hell. By the way, I can say hell now. And it was such a weird experience, but...
Yeah, I don't know. Anime was just giving me something... I remember my crossover anime, like, that kind of sent me over the edge and started getting into it was Inuyasha. But it was one I had to watch it, like, secretly in my room.
Yeah, because your parents and everything.
Yeah, and then, our friends in school were into manga. Our middle school library had some manga in it, and I remember reading Dot Hack, Legend of the Twilight. My brother borrowed... So I had a friend who had a lot more ready access to manga and anime, and he let my brother borrow a manga called Love Hina.
Oh, Love Hina.
And we were 12 at the time, and my mom got a hold of it, and we got in trouble.
I actually remember, I watched Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff like that when I was younger, and there was... I went to Barnes & Noble, not Barnes & Noble, the bookstore that was in the mall years ago. I can't even think of the name of it. And I picked up the first volume of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga, and it was the first actual manga that I'd ever purchased. I'd had some Shonen Jump before, but the thing was, it wasn't the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist Kingdom manga. It was the original one that they never actually released the episodes in the US and everything, because people there's death. People, the very first chapter, multiple people are trying to look up Taya's skirt, and Yugi's grandpa specifically mentions that her chest got larger because he hadn't seen her in a few years.
Yeah,
and
anime gets kind of bleached.
Yeah,
when it comes over.
Well, that was what was so interesting, is that was the very original, and then they made the Duelist Kingdom series, which is what the primary anime was. I think the anime was just called Yu-Gi-Oh! Zero or something like that, and there was only a couple of episodes, and then they went on to the Duelist Kingdom, which was a lot lighter. Mind you, when they did bring it over and 4 kids got their grubby hands on it, and...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I only recently found out that the... Shadow Realm that they constantly refer to in the anime. In the original Japanese, it was, you're going to die if you lose. That was actually what the translation was. And then 4 Kids is like, no, we don't want that. They're just going away forever, and you'll never see them again.
Wow.
So we were, a little bit earlier, we were talking about some anime that we've been seeing that was, fairly good recently. And one thing that we'd both watched was an anime called Erased.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend actually is the one who told me about that.
The Japanese name is Boku Dake no Inai Machi.
Yeah, I remember. Most people that I knew just referred. No, I was thinking of something else.
I watched it before they had the English name.
Yeah, and I cannot honestly remember what it was called.
I think it was Boku Dake no Inai Machi. I think that's what it was.
It sounds about right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also sounding like Danmachi, which was is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon?
Oh,
which was
Boku Dake ga Inai Machi.
Oh, okay. And honestly, that was an interesting series. I watched it as it was coming out. It's one of the few series that I actually watch whenever it gets simulcast. Like,
yeah,
I would know. I was like, oh, it's the day. I need to jump on Crunchyroll right now.
Yeah, I was watching that every time an episode came out,
and it was a really interesting series. I really enjoyed it, honestly.
It reminded me of Anohana.
Yeah, that was actually something that I connected it to, and I remember there was a few connections, and for some odd, and I'd only watched Anohana a couple months before, and I made the weird mistake of thinking that the openings for both anime were done by the same person or the same group. Mm-hmm. So I was going like, oh, this sounds so familiar, and I went and I listened to both of them, and I was very tired, and I'm like talking to my girlfriend on Skype, like, listen, they're both by this. She's like, no, this one's Asian Kung Fu Generation, and that one's somebody else entirely.
Yeah. Galileo Galilei was the band that did Anohana's theme.
Yeah.
And then Asian Kung Fu Generation licensed an already existing song to...
oh, did they actually?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Already known that song beforehand. But Anohana, does it win the longest title award? So this is the title for Anohana. Ano himita hana no namae wo boku tachi wa mada shiranai.
I feel like there may be something longer, but I don't want to know it.
Oh man.
I mean, it was a good series as well, honestly. I had never watched it, but I'd been wanting to, and I remember just my friend and I, we would always see fan art of Menma at conventions, and he would just kind of like frown at it and go, "This makes me sad," and I would say, "Why?" "Oh, you have to watch it." So when I went and visited my girlfriend last year, we went and saw it, or we watched it, and I completely understood why everybody was always sad about it. One thing that I thought was funny about Erased was that, and I'm like a big like Power Rangers, Super Sentai fan and everything like that, they were constantly... They referred to a specific Super Sentai series at one point by name, but they never used the visuals of it. Like, he had a Super Sentai-ish mask kind of hanging around, and it related to a character that was fictional in the show, but they specifically referenced the actual series by name, and I was like, why didn't they just use him? Like, if they can say the name in the show, why can't they show it?
Yeah.
Or anything like that, and I just thought that was really funny. But I remember hearing them say it, and I was like, is this accurate? And I had to, like, pause it and go, what year does Erase take place? And then what Super Sentai was airing at that time? And I misread it at first. I was like, they're wrong. And I went back, looked at it. No, never mind. They got it right. They remember what was showing at the time.
Huh. I found a really long... You know the anime No Kome?
I don't think so.
Anyways, that's the shortened version of it. The title's Ore no nai sentakushi ga Gakuen Love Comedy wo Zinyaroku de Jama shiteiru. Oh, man.
One of my favorite things, honestly, is actually... So, have you seen the original Japanese version of Full Metal Alchemist? Or...
I want to. Sometimes when I'm watching the series, sometimes I just swap between the dub and the sub.
I'm trying to remember if it was in the original series or if it was just in Brotherhood. Do you know what Scar's full name is, though?
No.
Jugumo Goku no Surikiri Kaijirei Sugyo no Sugematsu Unonai Matsu Furaimatsu Tsunero Kumotokuri no Yaburokoji no Burokoji Paipo no Shuringan no Gurindai no Pompuku no Pompuku no Choki me no Chosuke is his full name.
Really?
And apparently that's Scar's full name. Or not... No, that is Scar's name. That's also Wrath's full name as well. But they didn't really have any way to translate it into the English. So in the English it's just like, what's your name?
I don't remember. Here.
Yeah, it's...
Jugen Musu Gen Mego go no se daka ga sa dansen sugesu Gematsu, Furaimatsu, Kura no Tokoro.
It's so long, and I've actually practiced it so many times. That's how I know it.
Real?
It's actually from an old Japanese story that was literally the way I remember it is this kid gets born, and this guy wants his kid to live a really long time, so he goes to a monk and he's like, "What should I name my kid?" And so he suggests him a name that meant something about living long, and he goes, "Yeah, that's not bad, but give me some other names." And they go through this whole list of names, and he goes, I like all of those. If I just give him all of those names, he's gonna live forever.
Wow.
And then later on in life, he's helping somebody roof his house or something like that, and falls into a river, and he can't swim, so his friend goes and tells the old man who owns the house. But of course, they're Japanese, they have to say the person's full name, so he's like, Chigumu is drowning, so go into town and go tell the first person you see. So he runs to town and tells the first person he sees, you gotta go tell the leader of the village. So they go find the leader of the village, tell him, go tell the parents. They go tell the parents, and then they all run back, and he's dead in the river because they took so long, because his name is gigantic.
Yeah. That's crazy. It's a fun fact. Trivia. That's a good trivia question.
Yeah. What is Scar's full name? Write it all down. I think that was... the reason that I even found out about that was there was a Tumblr post that I saw a long time ago where somebody just put the Japanese audio of him saying his name over... Eminem or something. My name is, and then that's.
Oh man!
And there were a lot of people who kept trying to pronounce it, so I wanted to make a post. I never got around to uploading it. I have it on a flash drive of me. Why does everybody think it's so hard? It's just recites full name.
That's pretty funny.
It was a fun meme. Well, it lasted for a month.
Yeah.
So also, I was going to ask you. So you mentioned that you know a bit about it. You play Overwatch, or do you just know?
I've put about 300 hours into it. So.
Oh jeez.
Actually, wait, 200 hours.
I've probably put 8, honestly. Yeah. So have you been getting into the what's her name? The Sombra. Have you been getting into that?
I've been following. I don't have the drive to do any of the detective work, but it's kind of interesting how they're at the end of videos or developer diaries and stuff like that, they're throwing in things for people to decode, which are just basically just teasers for the people who want to figure out these puzzles. We've got a new character coming up. What we know that it's I think she's Hispanic. She might be from Mexico.
Yeah.
She's a hacker, and she might have some stealth mechanics, which will be interesting. There's some voice lines of characters saying "enemy detected," which we haven't seen in game yet. So we're thinking that it's because Sombra's got an ability that turns allies invisible. And then everyone's hyping about Doomfist, but Blizzard hasn't been teasing us very much, other than the fact that on Numbani, Doomfist is literally everywhere. Pictures, memorabilia, whatever. And I think Numbani's the location of the museum that was in their first CG.
I believe so, yeah.
And then the kid picks up the Doomfist gauntlet and uses it.
I've seen so much stuff recently, people on the Reddit thread there was that one website where it was counting down, or it was from 100%, and everybody assumed that it was going to reach 0%, and then they were going to release Sombra, or at least details about Sombra, but it stopped at 5%, and it would go down a bit every day, but now it's stopped at 5%, and everybody's trying to figure out how to get it to move. So the Reddit thread is pretty much just full of people going take my bandwidth, Sombra, just messages and messages, take my bandwidth, because everybody really wants to know more about it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Tumblr, on the other hand, is just going, we should just talk about Sombra. So there's fan art, which is literally just a skull sort of mask with a black cloak and then a body made out of binary. Or just posts as if referencing Sombra existing already within the game. So there's constantly they're about to fight, and Tracer goes up and Sombra goes, why would you shoot me when I could just release this footage of you and a certain sniper in Paris, and all this other stuff. And then of course Lucio comes up like, "Don't worry, I got this," and she has to like go through her phone and through her computer, and she pulls out like a wrinkled napkin and just tries reading it off, and it's just like he once was late for a meeting because he'd saved a puppy or something like that.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean everybody on Tumblr is just making fun of it, and everybody on every other website is losing their minds because they want more information.
Yeah, they apparently just recently cracked the skull code.
Yeah,
I didn't see what the results of that were.
When I first started seeing pictures of her on Tumblr, I was really confused because I didn't know what it was, and then I went to the original artist, and it was tagged as Overwatch and Sombra. So of course I typed in Sombra on Google Images, and all you find are pictures from like 2 months ago, back when everybody thought that Ana was Sombra, because you just have pictures of like her mask and her actual face and stuff like that from various footage. Everybody going, "This is it, we found pictures," but no, that's not it. That's already out now, so there's no new images that you can really find that might be her.
Yeah,
but I mean, I've honestly I tried playing Ana once, and that was at a convention in a hotel. And the Wi-Fi was so bad that I got kicked from the game, and I went, maybe I won't play this. Maybe we'll just watch Netflix instead. And that was my only... I mean, I'm terrible at sniping and terrible at healing, so...
Yeah, I'm not a fan of sniping. You have to play on a really low sensitivity with your mouse, and it's like, if you get in close quarters, you're trying to turn.
Yeah, I can't do PC gaming, honestly.
Really?
Like,
I can't do console because I can't aim.
Oh yeah,
I always overshoot.
That's always one of my main concerns. Is I actually since the first Call of Duty Black Ops game came out, and my friend showed me the wonders of sensitivity of turn sensitivity. I always have it up on max. So if somebody says, "Oh, let me play for a bit," and they take my controller and they go to turn half an inch, and they're all spun around 90 degrees. It's like, oh, sorry, you got to lower that down to 3.
What's interesting
10.
is with PC, since you can control how fast you swipe, all PC players play on low sensitivity, so that when you're working at long range, you can track more easily.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can. That's micro movements with controllers trying to track someone at long range.
Yeah, it's definitely more difficult. I have to agree.
Yeah. Which is why we don't see cross console.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know a lot of companies are talking about cross console, honestly, but I don't know how well it's going to work out.
Or just let console players hook up a mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, I mean, I know you can hook up a keyboard if you want to go on the internet, so why not?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's a lot of things. Xbox has the ability to plug your controller into a computer, and if you get an emulator, you can use your PS3 or PS4 controller on the PC. And
I've got a dongle.
Oh yeah,
I've got a dongle for my computer, so if I'm playing, I only use a controller on third-person games, though.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense as well.
Because you're kind of steering them with the joystick makes more sense.
Yeah, one game that I actually really enjoy playing is Destiny, and the turn radius, or the turn speed on that is not as high as I would like, so if I'm getting shot from behind, it's really hard for me to turn around. You can turn left and right pretty quickly, but as soon as you get past a certain turn radius, it slows down. So turning all the way around is extremely annoying.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's a game that I've been playing for it's going on its 3rd year now, actually, next month. So, and it's so funny because anytime, Kotaku or IGN or anything says, oh, the new DLC is coming out, and, it's a big deal for the people who are actually playing it. But if you go into the comment section, it's everybody just going, oh man, people still play this? Yeah. Like, why are you commenting or people will read the full article and, oh, you're making players pay for DLC? Like, your game does too, I guarantee it.
Yeah.
The only games I can think of are like Overwatch and very few others.
Yeah. Team Fortress.
Yeah, that's such a huge modded thing, though, as well.
True, yeah.
You don't even
I want to see Overwatch mods be allowed.
Yeah.
So, like with Team Fortress 2, you had private servers and they would be modded. So you'd have, zero gravity.
I've seen those, yeah.
Like giants, you have, crazy maps. Like you could be fighting. There's a Wind Waker map.
Yep.
It's pretty interesting.
I know. I've played on a few maps that I've downloaded to Gary's mod as well that I used to play that a little bit. And there was, there was a Windmaker map for that, the Master Sword area as well.
Yeah.
On that, and just playing in Gary's mod was a lot of fun. Just the weird teleportation and everything.
Yeah.
But I'm actually also super excited for. I thought it was going to happen a while ago, but I'm super excited for mods to be released on console for Fallout.
Fallout 4?
Yeah. Because I know there's a lot of good mods already on the PC.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know. Like, mods are fun, but I usually go way overboard. And then I end up having to do a vanilla reinstall.
Oh, really?
Because I usually I'll have like 40 mods on there at once, and then I'll install one more that like breaks all of them. And it's, okay, time to start over.
Yeah. I've seen, there was one person playing Fallout 4 on PC. They had a mod where the Fat Boy launched Deathclaw eggs, and they went into Diamond City, and basically they were just blasting them everywhere, and of course immediately on impact they hatch and just start killing everything.
Did you see the mini nuke teddy bear?
I did, yeah. Isn't that the one that yells John Cena every time you shoot it? Yeah, that one was actually the first mod I saw.
Yeah.
And I know Skyrim is getting a PS4 remaster launch with mods already activated as well. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, so basically you pay, I think it's going to be a little bit cheaper than Skyrim was. I think it's going to be $50 instead of the $60.
Okay.
And it's going to have all the mods available, or a bunch of mods available at least. So that'll be interesting when that comes out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of games that I wish were more readily available. Or I wish games were cheaper. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I heard, and that's why I play PC, because you get sales and stuff, and they're not required to follow like GameStop's $60 rule.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I got Overwatch for $40.
Yeah.
I got Fallout 4 for $35.
I mean, a lot of times I go through the pre-owned games so I can at least save a few dollars. There are a few games that I buy sometimes on sale. Like I bought the Sword Art Online Lost Songs games for about $30. I'm glad I got it cheap because I did not like it and I returned it.
Yeah.
Or I traded it back in for
anime adaptation games usually aren't that good.
What was so interesting is that what I read was that Lost Songs is an entirely offshoot from Sword Art Online. So it's because almost immediately it was like they were things that didn't make any sense to me. They were like, oh yeah, Shinon was in Sword Art Online with us. I was like, no she wasn't. And oh yeah, my cousin was there in the game with us. No she wasn't. What are you talking about? So I looked it up, and yeah, apparently it was all wrong. And one thing, and I'll say this now, it bugged me, and maybe it's just because it was a Japanese game, like a lot of them are like this, but all of the characters had like select default costumes that you could put them in. You can play as anybody and take anybody with you. And of course there's only 2 male characters besides Kirito that you can have, and then the rest are female, and all of them had in their default costumes bath towel and swimsuit.
Of course.
So of course they're all flying around, running around, fighting in just nothing but a bath towel, and it made me extremely uncomfortable. I was like, I own 2 hyperdimensional Neptunia games, so this really shouldn't bug me as much as it does, but it does. So I returned it. I actually bought Digimon Adventure Cyber Sleuth, which has actually been a much better adaptation because it's rated teen, but the only thing that I truly know that's more inappropriate is that at one point Devimon or Lady Devimon and Anjumamon like make out and then they fuse or something.
Interesting.
I don't know why, but that's the only really inappropriate thing that I know that occurs during the
that's by the way it has T.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even Lost Songs was rated T, and when I said like swimsuit too, I'm not talking like the school swimsuit. They were like skimpy outfits.
Yeah. Yeah, they gotta have something to sell the game, right?
That's true, but you didn't even see it like on the back cover or anything like that. Like I found out while playing it.
I want a game that's like Sword Art Online. It doesn't even have to be VR. Just a game where players, you have one life.
Mm-hmm.
You're going through like the various floors. You can become like a blacksmith if you want to. You can become a shopkeeper. I really like the idea of just having one life though, because once you get to the higher end in-game like dungeons and stuff, it's a huge deal if somebody dies.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like they don't come back. But, obviously you alienate players, so a solution to that would be every time you die, you go to a different instance, and you can start over from the beginning.
Yeah.
A lot of people, it's what sucks though is the gaming industry is never going to do that because they're too afraid of making a game that it'd probably be too hardcore for them.
Well, there was one game, actually, and it was an indie game, but it was released on Steam. I think it was like $25, $30. It was a first-person shooter, and you did have one life. If you died, you got locked out of the game. Couldn't play it at all.
Really?
Yeah, so, of course, people were getting so mad and demanding their money back, but, they were told right off the bat, if you read the thing, you got one life, you got one chance to play. If you die, you can't play on this account anymore.
Yeah.
And people were demanding their money back, but, you get what you pay for, and that is what they paid for.
But, I think just... And then what would be interesting is if you did have a system like that where it's okay, you die, it means you can't not play anymore, but you can't play with your friends anymore.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
So it would actually encourage people to play safe, and then maybe just get involved in town roles. As it's I don't want to risk losing my character, so I'm just going to stay in town and cook food for people.
Yeah,
or I'm going to stay in town and blacksmith, and then all the really brave players or the people that are really hardcore players can spend their time in the front lines working more. And it's a huge cooperative game too. You're working with that's kind of unique for... I've never seen a game like that, and that's kind of what I want, where all 10,000 players are collaborating to try to beat the game. And then there's also going to be a rush. Maybe there's 4 servers, and then there's going to see who can beat the game first. Then there's competition.
There was one thing, just talking about, restarting or anything like that. There was something kind of similar that Bungie did in Destiny, where there was a weekly thing that they called the Nightfall, which was essentially just a dungeon strike where they threw in a bunch of modifiers to make it more difficult. One thing was, for example, anytime you go into a normal strike, it'll matchmake you, so you can go in with 3 people if you don't have 3 people in your party. But in this, you could only go in with the people that you had. So if you were solo, you were playing solo. And if you died at all, no matter how far in, you would get kicked out of the strike rather than just restarting at a checkpoint. And back, I want to say last September, when the Year 2 and the 3rd expansion came out, they said, we're not going to do that anymore. It's still going to be difficult. But I think there's matchmaking now, and you get reset back to the... So, yeah, the rewards are good, but it's not as much of a challenge, and it's not as difficult.
I think having a fear of death in games is really important for making it engaging. Death Note was a good one. Yeah. Not Death Note.
Or
Dark Souls.
Yeah. Death Note.
Death Note.
I'm thinking of, the TV show as well, so...
Dark Souls. I said Death Note, maybe because we were talking about anime. Dark Souls, it's the checkpoints are so far apart that if you die, you have to go back and work way through it, and then the enemies just all kill you in one hit.
I've avoided Dark Souls specifically for that reason, and I think that's part of the... if you don't think you can handle it, don't get it. One thing that and I never got that far, but I loved the Dead Space series. Mm-hmm. And... in Dead Space 2, if you reach the hardest difficulty, called Nightmare Mode, you had 3 saves. And it's a fairly long game. It'll take you several hours to complete. You had 3 saves. And if you die, there's no checkpoints. It's the last save you did. So, if you've played for 8 hours...
So you've got to space out your saves.
But you also want to make sure that you don't die. And of course, there's one enemy that appears that can kill you very quickly, and you can't kill it. It's unkillable. The only thing you can do is use stasis on it, which only lasts a few seconds, and dismember it, which it can then regrow its limbs, and it will start chasing you again. Wow. So, and of course, on Nightmare Mode, everything kills you in 2 hits, so you have to also make sure that your health packs, you're stocked up on health packs, but then you also gotta save room for the ammo and stuff like that, and each weapon takes different types of ammo. So, I never got that far. I'm kind of sad about it, because... if you did complete it, you got one of the most amazing video game weapons I've ever seen, which is a foam finger. And, every weapon had 2 different firing modes, the primary fire and the secondary. The primary fire, you pressed it, you would go bang, and you don't get to actually see, like, there's no ammo or anything. It's
Yeah.
like an infinite ammo weapon, but it would create kind of like a shockwave in a centralized area. And then if you use the secondary fire, go pew pew, and it would create a much larger explosion. In
That's hilarious.
You pretty much like one shot anything, but it was so funny just to like see it happen. I watched it and I never got that far, and then my PS3 memory got wiped.
One thing I want to see in games that sort of has as well is unique skills.
Yeah.
So like one player gets a special skill, and that's it. And then it's like, there's one thing that MMOs always fail to do, and it fails to make you feel like you are the hero or you are the chosen one or whatever. They try to make everybody feel like that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work, because you're like, okay, so I just spent 50 hours getting to the point where I could beat this boss. The town might have changed temporarily, but I come back tomorrow and the boss is there again and more people are fighting it. So it's like okay, I beat this game. Now other people are beating it again, and it's like, what's the point?
Yeah. And I feel like, though, that if they were to try and create something opposite that, it would make too many people upset that they couldn't, complete the end game properly.
It would be like if it's a server-based cooperation. I mean, you could technically have one in a system like that. You could technically have one player. Actually, no, you'd have to prevent this from happening, but prevent one player from just working their way up and beating the game for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Make that impossible, and make it to where you have to collaborate, and make it something where you have to work over the course of 5 years to beat it.
But then that's so much content that the developers have to make, and nobody wants to work that long and hard.
That's why we need AIs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, that's
AIs,
a slippery slope there.
Once AIs make video games for us, we'll be, we'll have some of the best games, but eventually it'll be the Matrix, and
then we're screwed anyway. I mean, my brother, my stepbrother, he loves video games. It's so funny because I can poke my head in his room and I'll see he's playing a video game. Like, oh, what are you doing? I will not be able to leave his doorway for about 20 minutes because he's got so much to say. Like, have you heard about this new game? And it's so awesome. He told me about this one crowdfunding game that's supposed to be like No Man's Sky except 10,000 times better. And of course, we've heard this 100 times
over and
before.
over and over.
But apparently, like, it's been in it's almost an open beta right now, and it's basically it actually, from what he told me, sounds fantastic. But of course, like, there's all kinds of different packages that you can get, and once the game goes live, you immediately, like, the moment it goes live, you get it if you've backed it.
Okay.
And the biggest backing that you can do is like $10,000 or something like that. And it's like, you get so much stuff. It's one of those things where, it's a big space game, free exploration, but you can make trade fleets and stuff like that. Like, it has like a fully working economy and everything like that. That's part of the point of it, is they wanted to, and you go to planets and they're barren. Like 98% of the planets are going to have nothing, because that's more realistic than like in No Man's Sky, which is a fun game, I might add. But you go to a planet and
I actually I saw a review of No Man's Sky where they went around and they found nothing. It really depends on like where you are. Yeah. What's good about those procedurally generated things is, you can make a game as big as Sword Art Online with procedural generation, and it's got to be done smartly, though. You can't just say, okay, we're just going to increase the number of enemies and increase the health bars on each level. But you could randomize the biomes. Then once you have all the content, or once you have all the levels generated, then you go through and just hand create the towns.
Yeah. I mean, I know in No Man's Sky, there was a little bit too much procedural generation. Sometimes you can find a building that'll probably have some great stuff in it, and that building is inside of a rock. You can't get into it, and that's happened to me a few times. It's a fun game, but the marketing killed it. Yeah. It was basically, Sony was trying to market it as a AAA game, and it's an indie game, and that's just how it was. So there's so many people that are super disappointed. I enjoy it, but it's not going to be, I thought it was going to be one of those games that's going to take my entire life away, but it's going to be one of those things like, I'm bored, what should I do? I'll play No Man's Sky.
I don't know, these space games are always going to be lackluster until we can start getting planets, with as much detail and stuff going on it as Earth.
And that's another thing, too, is my stepbrother was mad because each planet is just one biome. You go on, and it's like, and you're going to find some weird animals. You're going to find pineapples that are jumping around. It's honestly one of the weirdest planets I found is everything except the pineapples wanted to kill me. I landed and like immediately I was like, oh, what's that red paw print? Oh, you're a giant crab that wants to kill me. And then, I'm just trying to like avoid dying and then just a whole expanse of nothingness. And I look over and I see movement and I go, oh, what is that? Does that want to kill me? And I look over. No, it's just a blue pineapple, which is with like eyes just bouncing around. And that's it. So seeing things that are much more realistic than basically what they did was, well, here's like a couple different parts, hit random, and we're good to go. You'll find things with...
I feel like it could get boring.
Yeah, and that's exactly why, I was super excited. I got it actually at the 9 p.m. day before release and everything like that. Like, I got home and my girlfriend had pre-ordered it through Amazon, but it was going to get through the day of release, and of course I got it before it came out. So she, as soon as I got home, she's like, stream it, I need to see it. And of course, it's so beautiful for like the first couple of hours, and then you're like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Planets themselves are large. They are, Earth-sized or larger, and it'll take you months if you want to explore, or, even years to explore one full planet.
Yeah,
but nobody wants to do that.
Yeah, exactly, because there's not a whole lot. There's, it's the same thing no matter where you go.
15 quintillion planets, you don't want to just stay on one. There's lots of... I've found some beautiful planets in that game that are so breathtaking and gorgeous, but... there's other things out there. Who knows what I could find?
Are there city planets?
No, not that I've found. Most of them are pretty barren. There's plants and stuff like that, and every now and then you'll find an outpost where you can trade some stuff or whatever. And then if you go into space, there's in each system there's a space station where you go and you can buy and sell, and pretty much it's where you're going to find most of the other species. You go in there, and then you can trade for different ships and everything like that, so you have more inventory, but a lot of times you've already modified your ship, and now I want, if I want another ship with more inventory, I'm also going to want the bigger gun. Now I have to go get the materials to make the bigger gun.
Yeah. So
it's sort of one of those things where you got to figure out, what am I going to do exactly here? How am I going to do this?
Yeah.
It's a long process to get everething together.
Yeah. I don't know. I think if procedurally generating... How many floors does SAO have? 500 something? 50?
I feel like it might have been 70. I don't recall exactly.
Okay, anyways, procedurally generating and then going back through over the procedural generation for that many levels wouldn't be too hard.
Yeah. And especially if it's not...
Because No Man's Sky is... an infinite number of years of content.
Yeah, they said nobody's ever going to finish it.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas something that would be SAO styled would be beatable within 5 years, which I think might be fairly realistic to make.
Yeah. I think it was 100 floors, but they found out who the guy was on floor 71 or something, and that's
really?
what happened. Yeah, so they finished it prematurely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But no, for sure, that would be a lot easier. And actually, I mentioned my stepbrother as well. He is constantly so excited for VR and stuff like that. He's getting like a brand new gaming computer built for him soon. Yeah. And he's talking about VR stuff that like you put sensors in each corner of the room, and then it generates the world around you inside of your room.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's also kind of a problem because you're still wearing a headset, and there's the bed.
Yeah, I don't know. It's right now. I think it's kind of gimmicky. It's kind of a cool experience. I think right now VR is good for viewing, like 360 movies, maybe for doing like tech demos. But if you can only move around a square of 10 feet by 10 feet, it's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Right now, a lot of the VR games are essentially just Wii games.
Yeah.
But they just added 360.
Oh, do they really? Oh, yeah. And then Sony has their VR system coming out.
So it's like I can take my guns and shoot the zombie over there, and then I have to teleport to another cover location.
Yeah, I mean, there is that one. I don't even know what it's called. That one system. It's like a, almost like a harness that you stand in and like you walk around in it.
It's kind of awkward. But...
Yeah, I mean, it looks really awkward, but I guess it works. You still have that full 360-degree vision, and then you can move around, and as you walk, you're still standing in place, but there's, I guess, something that senses your movement. I don't know if it's a ball or something under your feet, but it seems like it would work a little bit easier to do something like that rather than just create your room. And
I think VR will be lackluster until we have full brain integration.
Yeah, and that's one thing. I mean, he will literally bring up Nerve Gear so many times as soon as it's great, but it's not going to be perfect. I'm like, okay, cool. I want to go watch Netflix now.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it's
All right.
So I guess we're kind of winding down to about an hour here.
All right.
So, was there anything else that you wanted to kind of bring up, or?
Yeah, keep an eye out for some of the stuff we're gonna be announcing some stuff pretty soon for BayCon 2017. Follow us on our various platforms. This YouTube channel is kind of a new way we're trying to get out there too. Subscribe.
Yep, so do that. We have the YouTube channel, the Instagram, the Tumblr, and the Twitter. They're all Bellingham Anime. And then we have the Facebook page. What's the URL for that one? Is it the Bellingham Anime Con?
Bellingham Anime Con, I believe.
Yeah, okay. So check that out. This is going to be a monthly podcast, so we're going to be uploading these every month. Going to have a different guest every time, so I hope you look forward to that. We're going to be talking about all kinds of news, all kinds of things going on with the convention, and just all sorts of really fun stuff. So I hope that you guys continue to tune in and continue to give us feedback. Also, the early bird registration is currently open. If you go to BellinghamAnime.com, or is it
BellinghamAnimeCon.com.
Right, and the early bird registration is currently at, what was it?
$10.
Was it $10?
It's only $10, and that's kind of a... Since we're expanding so much, this is a great deal.
Yeah. So if you want to get in early, get in with some great stuff. Going to have a fantastic year this year. So $10, BellinghamAnimeCon.com. And if you're interested in being a part of the show, please send an email to BellinghamAnimeCon@gmail.com with the subject line podcast, and I will get back to you, and we can definitely discuss having you on the show. If you're interested in submitting art for the art contest, we currently have a mascot contest going on. Check out rules at BellinghamAnimeCon.com. And I think that's about it.
Yep.
So, okay. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and I hope to see you next month. This has been Jeremy and Jarrett, and we will see you later.